Hey guys, it's been a hot minute. I really don't have any excuses. Wasn't well, I was sick and stuff, but aside from that, truthfully, I was dealing with some burnout. I got into fitness and being a personal trainer to help people, and I've helped people. I've helped a lot of people, and I'm continuing to help people. It's a struggle sometimes, and this podcast, this episode, essentially is going to be me being a bit vulnerable. It's kind of giving you guys some insight as to what's been going on with my mindset and just some things that I've been dealing with and working through. And I just want to be transparent with you guys. So I got burnt out. I got burnt out from posting on social media. I really wasn't seeing a lot of a return of investment for it. I actually, it's funny, I get more people reaching out to me to work with me when I provide social proof, which is kind of like common sense when you think about it. But the reels that I were making, I was putting a lot of thought into them, editing, and I don't regret the things that I've done to get to where I am with, in terms of like my editing and stuff like that, because I've learned a lot. I've learned quite a lot during this process, but I wasn't really seeing, I guess, the traction that I was looking for. And my focus started to shift towards wanting to get as much followers as possible, wanting to get as much views as possible rather than just making an impact. And that clouded me for a bit, and it caused me to become discouraged. It caused the burnout. It caused me to not like being on social media that much. Every time I got on social media, I would just cringe, like looking at the things that these other fitness influencers were doing. And it kind of drove me crazy because it was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm providing value. I'm being truthful. I'm not lying to anyone or anything like that. Why am I not getting this traction? Why am I not seeing what other people are seeing? And I fell into that trap of comparing myself to other people, which is something that you don't want to do because it's a recipe for disaster. I make reels. Most of my reels lately have been calling out these fitness influencers. A lot of them gain a lot of traction because either they've already had a following to begin with, or they're selling you on lies. They're fear mongering you. They're giving you false promises, and they're telling you that you're going to get quick results. They're basically saying to you exactly what you want to hear. It's psychology. It's all psychology behind it. There's a psychology behind this whole thing, and they've tapped into it. They know how it works, and they use it against you, and it works. It's crazy. But I try my best, and I know that there are other fitness influencers out there, or what have you, whatever you want to call them, that are calling these people out as well too. And those people are heroes. I really respect those people. I actually follow a lot of them because I just really resonate with what they're doing. It speaks to me. It hits my core values. Is which is calling out the bullshit. But in that process, again, I got lost in trying to combat something that really I should not be trying to combat, at least at this point, because I just don't have, I don't know what it is, but I'm not ready for that yet. I was on Facebook the other day, and I came across a post. This is kind of segmenting into something a little bit different here. But I came across this post, and it was a video of a very known fitness influencer calling out another pretty well known fitness influencer. And the the dude that was calling out the fitness influencer, it was the guy was talking about a 6 or 7 minute ab workout. Nothing crazy or anything like that, but he called him out and poked fun at him, and told him, like, it was just telling people a lot of it is genetics. You're like, you'll never obtain that. And I saw where he was coming from because he did make some good points, but he made it seem like this dude was always in shape. And I don't know the guy's backstory. I don't know if he had always been in shape. I don't know if he had an athletic background or not, or anything like that. And then I started reading the comments, and it triggered me. I don't know why, but it triggered me. People were saying things like, I only want to work with coaches or trainers who have been overweight, or have been clinically obese because they understand it's relatable. And I get it. I understand. I get it. You want to work with someone who understands your pain points. You want to work with someone who understands your challenges because they can better be a support for you. And I got to thinking about me and my journey, my process, and where I'm at now. And I don't have a lot of social proof. A lot of people think at this point, because I've been in shape since 2014, or started getting in shape in 2014, and it's just been, this progressional thing for me, that I've always been this way, that I've had like an athletic background, and that I've had, an upbringing where these values were instilled in me at such a young age. And it's like, that's the furthest from the truth. I didn't have any of that, and I feel like, in a way, that the people that I want to work with, because I do understand the struggle. But I'm out of their reach. I'm out of their reach because I don't have the social proof of me being and struggling through these things. Because at the time that I was doing it, at the time that I was struggling, I'm 36 years old. At the time that I was doing these things, social media was not as prevalent as it is now. I didn't grow up in a household with proper breakfast and lunch and dinner. I didn't know what that was. I didn't grow up in a household where I was told to move my body because it's good for you and play. I didn't play any sports. I didn't do any of that. I had no interest in sports. I was a young kid with severe asthma. I had asthma attacks. I remember being hospitalized a few times from these asthma attacks. On top of that, I had really, really bad allergies as a kid too. The screenings that they do where they prick you, they keep pricking you to see what you're allergic to. I can't count how many times I had to go to appointments for that. Outside of getting 20 to 30 freaking shots in my arm, like, needles don't even scare me. Like, you tell me to draw it to give blood or anything like that, it doesn't bother me. Needles don't bother me anymore. But that was my childhood. It, Sports just wasn't a thing for me because of my asthma, because of my allergies. It just never was anything that interested me at all. Nutrition was something I never grew up with. I never knew what proper nutrition was. My dad, when I was staying with him, would get me McDonald's all the time. When I was living with mom, we were struggling to eat sometimes. Like, it was all over the place. In middle school, I ended up moving down to Maryland to stay with my family for a bit, with my aunt and my cousins. And I got enrolled into a Catholic school and forced to play soccer, which I hated. I hated it, and I was bad at it. Running up and down the field as an overweight, I don't even. Even forget. I think it was sixth. It might have been seventh grade. I'm pretty sure it was in seventh grade. But running up and down that field, I remember running up and down that field, and I hated it. It sucked. I didn't enjoy it, and I was out of shape. My asthma was still. It wasn't as bad as it was, but it was still there, and I didn't enjoy it. And I ended up moving back home with dad for a bit until my mom came back up to Pennsylvania, and I went and stayed with her and started going to middle school at Edgar Fall Smith. For those who are watching that know me, you know what school that is. And during that period of time, I was overweight. I remember being called or being told to have a donkey. And if for you guys that know what that slang is, that means that you got a big butt. I remember looking. I still vividly remember a picture we took in the classroom, and just seeing myself and seeing how big I was. To me, I was big, and it made me uncomfortable. I my best friend, his mom, when I would go over there sometimes, she would call me fat. She made really good food. Her food was freaking delicious. But she would call me fat and make comments like that sometimes, and I would brush it off. But in reality, those things kind of stick with you. And when I got into high school, my brother passed away in ninth grade, and my mom was dealing with her own stuff. So I kind of had to fend for myself. And a lot of the times, she was grieving, I was grieving, and outside of high school meals and every once in a while going out to eat with friends, uh, a lot of the times, I just had whatever I had at school, and then I would come home. And you guys remember the Easy mac and cheese, the little bowls that you throw some water in there. I think you throw the cheese powder in there, or whatever, and you toss it in the microwave. That would be my dinner. And I was grieving the loss of my brother as well too. So I dived into video games hardcore. So I wasn't really eating a lot. And I became extremely not extremely underweight, but I was pretty underweight. And no one really noticed. I don't think no one I didn't really talk about it. And I wore my clothes really well. But there's a picture that I have, and I may have it just pop up on here of me after graduation, after high school graduation. And I'm in the kitchen with my cousins and we're flexing, we're doing stupid posing, but you can tell in the picture that I'm underweight, you know. And then you go out and you become an adult and you go out on your own and you have this freedom because I didn't when I was in high school, I worked at Giant as a bagger for a little bit, but it wasn't anything substantial. I didn't have at the time I didn't have my own vehicle, my own transportation, so I had to take the bus to get to work. My last year of high school, I ended up getting my brother's car, which was they gave me the ability to be able to start driving on my own. And we had moved away. We moved out outside of the city, but I was still going to school in the city because it was my last year of high school. It was almost done anyways. It didn't make sense for me to transfer to a different school when I only had like I believe like 2 or 3 months of school left. So once I obtained this freedom, again, I didn't have any idea of nutrition or anything like that, but I started going hog wild. I was eating out all the time. You know, I had money because I was working, worked at Turkey Hill, and then I started working at Radio Shack. And, you know, I was going out to eat with friends all the time when I was in school. And that just became the norm. That was the norm for me for the very long time. You know, I wasn't really cooking, not cooking meals at home. My mom showed me how to bake chicken and broil steak and things like that, and I would do that every once in a while. But for a majority of it, I was going to Turkey Hill and getting half gallon lemonades and pink lemonades and strawberry lemonades. And if I went to the grocery store, I was getting really easy things to make, the frozen pizza. Like a lot of the things that we're eating were not healthy, and it was like that for a very long time. And my weight yo-yoed. My weight went up and down, up and down, and up and down. I tried losing weight, I tried going to the gym, I tried working out. Nothing stuck. Like nothing stuck at all until 2014. When I went through a bad breakup, and had high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I had all these things going on. I just wasn't feeling good, and I wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to look good. I wanted to have a six pack at the time. That was my main focus: is build this muscle and get the six pack. And over time, my focus changed. But I'm saying all this because I don't have any I didn't take any pictures of myself. I didn't record myself or anything like that. I don't have pre 2014 Skylar. I have pictures here and there, but I don't really have anything substantial to show you guys like how unhealthy I was, where I was at, or anything like that. You guys just see me now. You guys see what I am now, what I've been for the past 10 years now. And it kind of sucks. I regret not being able to record this stuff now because I don't have anything to show you guys except for word of mouth. You just have to trust me what I'm saying. I actually reached out to my dad to see if he had any pictures of me when I was in middle school just to show you guys. Hopefully he does so I can show you guys, but I understand the struggle. I've been there. I've been unhappy with how I look. I've been unhappy with how I felt. I've struggled with nutrition. I've struggled with just finding some type of form of exercise that I enjoy doing. I've struggled with all that. So I understand. I get it. And my clients, when you work with me, you you just have to work with me. And I'm gonna try to be. I was talking to my wife about it. I'm gonna try to be a lot more transparent and talk about myself prior to 2014 a little bit more. I always and I still struggle with this. I don't like talking about myself a lot because I just don't. It's hard for me to do it sometimes. And now that I'm in shape, now that I'm healthy, sometimes for me, it feels like I'm gloating when I'm not. I know that it's not. I know that I need to share these things, but it's tough for me to do it sometimes. But this is me doing it now. So I'm going to start trying to do these things a lot more often with you guys. I'm going to try to share my past, my struggles, and I still struggle with stuff. I've just like I just told you guys, I dealt with burnout from comparing myself to other fitness influencers. I have my own issues that I still need to work through as well. I am the furthest thing from having it all figured out, but I'm working on it. And I think that's the important part. So I just wanted to be open with you guys. Again, reading those comments from that video, it really triggered me. I had written out a really long post, and my wife was just like, "Why don't you just talk about this in your podcast?" And I was like, "You know what? You're right. I should do that." So there it is. I hope you guys have a little bit more insight into me and my past, and you know that I wasn't always in shape. I wasn't always healthy like this. It was a lifelong thing for me to get to this point. I didn't start really understanding how important my health was until I was 26. I'm 36. It was 10 years ago. Is when I really started to understand, like, yo, you really need to start taking care of yourself. And even then, again, it didn't happen right away because I was so focused on aesthetics. Something in me switched. And once I had that taste of feeling good and feeling better, I was like, yo, I need this. I got to keep chasing this. I don't want to go back to feeling how I felt before. And that has been the driving force for me ever since. I don't ever want to go back to how I felt before. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you got some insight out of this. I hope you got some perspective as to me, if that makes any sense. But I'm going to continue to work on myself and make sure that I'm being consistent with making these podcasts as well too. So I will catch you guys on the next one, and hopefully my wife will be able to join me on the next one as well too. And with that being said, let's Mosley.